Happy Fantasy Friday. This is the Banter and Bookmarks podcast. We are Lindsay,
Kelly,
and Catherine, and we are three book besties diving into romantasy with unhinged theories and a bit of spice.
Today we're chatting about Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry. There will be spoilers. We will be finding clues, making connections, and theorizing everything in this series.
So pour yourself a drink, come escape reality with us, and let's talk about books.
Today's episode is brought to you by Storylines by Sav. As you can see, we are all wearing matching pajamas filming tonight's episode. They are so soft, so adorable. Guys, look at the ruffles on the sleeves and the shorts. The shorts have a ruffle and they have pockets. They're adorable. We are having an online book club tonight in our jammies, so it's great to be able to wear these adorable jammies specifically.
They're so comfy, cozy.
Dragons and moons and potions and books and castles and swords and
I love
They're
them.
so cute. I love them
They're
so much.
adorable.
They're really, really soft, I have to say. I own a couple pairs of bamboo pajamas, and these might be my favorite. Like I feel like they're softer. Like, I don't know. There's something about the material. They're really, really soft. So
They feel light to me, which
They
I really
do.
like. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so good.
We are all hydrated. Fae Queens tonight, drinking our elixirs of hydration from Velvet Hammer. These sparkling mix-ins are the perfect accessory to tonight's episode. Use code BOOKS and BANTER for 15% off your order.
And Lindsay's snack tonight is brought to her by being a sneaky hoe because we got mochi at the Asian grocery store a couple weeks ago. And there were my family ate so much, and there are 2 pieces left, and I hid them after my kids went to bed. And I found them tonight while I was cooking dinner.
Nice.
I had
So
hidden
good.
them in my measuring cups on the counter above my
That's so
sink.
funny.
And so I went to measure something today, and there was 2 mochis hidden inside
Surprise, future
So-
me!
there.
So you're telling me that all weekend, Catherine and I, when we were
Would've taken
feeding
them.
your cats, we could have found secret hidden mochi?
Mm-hmm.
We
Ugh.
need to teach Bella to
Peach
search out
mochi, too.
Lindsay's
That's
snack
right.
collection
The
rather
Pit
than
and
her
Pats
food
need to help
collection.
us. Exactly.
I mean, Catherine, you did go over one of the days, and she had managed to open every single cabinet in our kitchen.
Everyone.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
And
Lower
eaten-
cabinets, but
And eaten through the food bag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
Just cause.
I, the night before, had found that she did that while I was sitting there, hanging out with them on a Friday night because they were probably lonely. And I was reading on Lindsay's couch and I hear it happening. And I found a plastic cereal container with a cover, something to keep bugs out. Like it's supposed to keep it set. And I put it in and I close it. And I was like, heh, nice try, Bella. Well, next day, Catherine was like, funny story.
Yep.
She got it.
listen,
Food over
got it.
here, containers over there.
Mhm.
No problem.
Bellatrix Lestrange is determined,
Crafty.
if anything.
She had all
She
day
knows her
with no people
spells.
around. Right. That's right.
So,
Well, going back to this book, Rites of the Starling.
Mm,
What
okay.
is everyone's overall impression of the book? Lindsay, let's start with you.
I loved this book. I am solidly on team love Rites of the Starling. I'm trying to decide how to put it into words. I found it to be refreshing. I find that, and I'm going to say this, like I don't eat romantasy books for dinner, right? I love
breakfast
romantasy.
and
This is right. This is in no way a critique of the genre, but they can be very much the same and follow very formulaic. And I found this to be a really refreshing way to kind of break that formula. I think it was unexpected, and I liked how unexpected it was. So I ate this book up. I really did. I can't. Honestly, I can't wait to talk about it. Yeah, loved it.
Kelly?
I am solidly on team really like Rites of the Starling. I ate it up the entire time I was reading it. I think my problem with it is not a problem with the book necessarily. I think it's one of the downfalls of being a part of Bookstagram and Book Talk, which no shade to the community that we love and we are a part of. But when you are chronically online, you see other people's reactions to the book. And I was seeing so many people talk about, oh my God, the plot twist. I never saw that coming, yada, yada, right? Awesome. So I'm reading the book. I figure out who Caspia and Andreas are at about 30%, which I didn't mind. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I loved seeing how it played out. I loved Caspia and her story. I really loved it. But when I got to the end, I was expecting there to be something else. And there wasn't anything else. And so for me, I was like, oh, that was it. I had figured it out, which I like figuring out books. Like that is why we deep dive, right? But I think I let online cloud my vision of, no, it's going to be something else. It's going to be something bigger, because to me, it was so obvious that that's what the twist was. And then after I read it, because I tried to avoid spoilers, I went online and I saw that so many people didn't get that twist. It was like, I would say it was kind of split, but so many people didn't get that twist, that was a twist. And I was like, I set myself up for an expectation that it just didn't hit. As a book, as a story, I loved it. I do wish Odessa's story would have moved further a little bit more, but overall, I give it a 4-star because I ate it up until it was just the very end that I was like, here we go. Oh, that's it.
So you were expecting there, because you guessed the Caspia thing earlier, you were expecting there to be something else at the end that you just didn't feel. So do you feel like if you hadn't seen the online chatter about it, do you feel like your read of it would have been different?
Yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. Because when I was reading it at the end, when Andreas is holding her and he says the line that everyone's crying over, get her blanket, my wife is cold, like that was a beautiful, terrible moment. And I think I read through it so fast because I was waiting for the next thing to happen that I don't think I let myself sit with it and enjoy it as much. And it's 100% because I was like, where's the next thing? Like, there's only a couple pages left. Like, where's the next thing? And so, yeah.
It's funny too, because I also guessed that pretty solidly far in. To be honest, I kind of had it clocked from the first chapter. It didn't mess up my enjoyment of the book, though, in the way that it did for you.
Yeah. And like
so
I said,
I
liked it that it was that way. I was just expecting there to be another twist. I think if people didn't talk so much about the twist, I would have been fine with it, because I think it would have been done. It was done really well, in my opinion. I was waiting for another big twist. And so, yeah. Catherine, what about you?
I think I liked it as a book. I don't think I liked it as much as the first book. And I think the crux of my issue with it was simply my FMC is Odessa, and Odessa didn't do enough in this book for me. I liked having the background of her mother, of the Starling, all of that I needed. It was information I absolutely needed, but Odessa didn't do enough in this book for me. So by the time we even roll around to part 3, when the action really does pick up for her, she hasn't done enough in this book for me. It's almost like I would have had her doing a whole lot more so that the third part really culminated in way more movement, even more movement than we saw by the end of the book for her, but just going farther into her story, because I felt like I stagnated too much in this. And I also think I never suffered from the online chatter issue that you did, Kelly. I suffered from, I had just read a really, really, really good book 2 in a series that I ate up very, very quickly. And I think I suffered from a comparison standpoint And had I read this, I think even just a couple of months later, once that dust had settled, I think I would have enjoyed this one more, but it didn't give me those same feelings as the previous book that I had read. And so this one probably unfairly suffered, in my opinion, from that. But I do think fundamentally speaking, I would have had my FMC do more in the book because she is my FMC. If this was a 5-book series, I could see the pause. That wouldn't have bothered me so much, but it's not. It's a 3-book series, and her character suffered from lack of just interesting things happening to her doing stuff. And I think there should have been some kind of maybe more overlap in how Caspia's story was revealed to us through maybe Odessa. Maybe so she was more involved in the reveal or something. It wasn't just so this is Caspia's point of view, this is Odessa's, but that was really it. So I liked it. I think it will probably, I actually am looking forward to the chat tonight because with Lindsay loving it so much, I'm hoping that I will get more excitement out of it by simply just talking about it, because we found that we have books, progress in our estimation simply because we chat about it with our friends. And I'm really looking forward to that. Like I might get more from it. Obviously want to read the 3rd book, but I was in a slump for this one, and I haven't yet gotten out of that just slump. And to your point, I guessed it after the first chapter. And so I was like, I think I was probably waiting for a twist as it's specifically related to like Odessa, other than a reveal, something else happening to her that would have, to your point, Kelly, maybe found some balance there of, I guessed one thing, but I didn't guess the whole thing. And so it would have like driven me forward. But this one just took me too long to read. And by the end, I was kind of I was more meh about it than I really probably would have been had I just simply read it a couple of months later.
Yeah. That's funny because I feel like I read it really quickly. And honestly, know what's wild?
Yeah.
I read it so fast. Like I said, I loved it. Like page by page, chapter by chapter, I ate it up. And weirdly, I actually, not so much more, but I actually think I like Caspia as a character more than I like Odessa. And I really like Odessa, but I love Caspia. But I agree with you of like, I wanted a little bit more to happen with Odessa. And I honestly, I think, and I love kids, but I think Evie, having Evie and all the things that she had to do to protect Evie kind of kept her from being able to do more. And so I'm curious how Evie is going to,
a lot of
exactly. And so I'm curious how that's going to shift in the next book.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was not without, there are things here and there that I was like, whatever. But my overall feeling and impression of the book is that I found it interesting and refreshing. And that's kind of my key takeaway from all of it, I guess,
My key takeaway is stay off the internet, because that's the reason why I didn't enjoy it. I think this book would have been 4.5, maybe even 5 stars for me if I didn't let the online chatter make me expect more.
Yeah.
It is funny you say that, because we were reading another book and I'm the last one to read it. And I said something about the author and you guys are like, how do you not know that? And I'm like, because I intentionally avoid anything related to her in the book because I don't want to be spoiled.
This one is hard though, because it was so popular
everywhere.
And we we did not read it the week that it came out because we wanted to finish recording our Shield of Sparrows episodes prior.
Right.
And so there was an overlap of a week there where we were watching the online chatter and it was so popular and everybody was talking about it. And we did not want to start reading and let our theories get, sneak into our book 1 coverage at all. And so I just think that the timing of it was really tough. I also think that we could probably do an entire episode on the effects of book talk and bookstagram on
1,000%
reading in general. So
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because you know what else I realized too? One of the things that I think hurt me was like, I hear that people are crying over a book. And so instead of enjoying the emotional parts of the book, I'm like, oh, is this the part that they're crying about? Like I'm thinking about, oh, is this what made people cry? And then it's taking me out of the book. And I'm like, stop doing that, Kelly. I need to stop doing that.
This is why it helps that I have 2 social medias. I have YouTube that is for like my food and history and random funny crap. And then my Instagram is for anything book related. So my YouTube will not give me spoilers because my algorithm has nothing to do with books. Because that's for Instagram. So it's like, I'm like, well, I can't be on Instagram for like a week. I have to read this. So then I get my social media fixed through my algorithms on YouTube.
Well, when you run the social media for a podcast,
don't work that way. Do it.
Yeah, we can't. Lindsay and I cannot be off Instagram. We do not have that ability. So
sometimes I wish I could, but
yeah,
alas,
I know. Alas, here we are.
There should be a way to like update my like settings for like pause anything related to this book for like a week and then flood me with it, so that way I don't get spoiled.
Yeah, the algorithm doesn't care about your being spoiled, unfortunately.
How rude.
Rude. It really is rude. The algorithm needs to be nicer to us. Well, all right, let's get into the actual book. It is very interesting that we start off with the prologue, watching the very first Shield of Sparrows being signed. And I think setting the prologue in the past was an interesting way for Devney Perry to set that stage for the part of the novel being in the past. What do we think about how that happened and what we got out of the prologue?
Yeah, I think exactly that. I think exactly what you said. I think it set the stage really well for knowing or feeling that we're going back in the past without there being a really significant jump that like takes you out of it and going, oh, wait, what's going on here? There's a lot of people that didn't realize that Caspia was in the past too. And so to me, I took it as a hint that that is what was happening. I didn't get a lot out of the story, the prologue itself. Like, I didn't necessarily find it to be totally necessary, I think. I will say
like
there's some hints
informative.
in there. Yeah, like there's some hints in there and some connections, but not mind-blowing. I feel like the best kind of prologue is the one that you read again after you finish the book and you're like, that's
why.
okay. Yeah.
Like some Easter egg was in there that you will not get until you get to the end of the book.
Yeah.
I wonder if that will come in 3.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
I mean, there are a lot of hints in the prologue. Like it reminds us, I think, mostly about the magic and the reasons why we are in this book, right?
Yeah.
We see that the high priest has green blood. I think that was a big hint that I took out of there. And also we see this sparrow wearing gray, which I thought was really interesting because it's just like Margot used to dress Odessa. And I wondered if there was more to that. What do you guys think?
I would agree with that. I think I was kind of like you, wanting there to be something a little bit more with this. It does set you up for the right mindset, but I wanted more. I actually wanted more from this specific past. Maybe because I was overloaded with the other past that we got in this, that I actually was like, I kind of want to go to this past because I think that would have been a fun way to connect the Voster end because, like your point, we don't get as many Easter eggs in it. But I still enjoyed actually that prologue. I thought that was a great prologue. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. So, Lindsay, to your question about the dress being gray, I go back and forth on if I think that there is a specific conscious reason that Margot dressed Odessa this way, or if it is just foreshadowing. Or I can't wrap my head around if there's more to that. Like, obviously, we know that Margot knew who she was as a baby and all of the connections with her and the mother, but I wonder if it's just like a fate thing. I don't know if you have a different opinion, but I went back and forth a lot about like if this was supposed to be telling or if it was truly just really fun foreshadowing.
Yeah, I kind of took it as just really fun foreshadowing and connecting Odessa to the original Sparrow.
Yeah. Thank God, because I was like, what else could it be?
No, it would be different if Margot was royal herself or from royal blood and knew something. But Margot, having been just a pretty handmaid, as far as we know, that would be a hell of a twist for book 3. But,
right.
Margot just being a pretty handmaid, I feel like she likely doesn't have a lot of hidden information that would make that detail make more sense.
Yeah, agreed. I do think, though, that the part about the high priest having green blood threw me because the whole book, I was like, oh, he has Lyssa. The whole time I was like, why does he have Lyssa? I thought that Ransom was the one who started it. Like, how is this connected? And then we get to the end and we realize why. And so that was a fun thing that threw me off. And I was like, ooh, I like that I was wrong about that the whole time. And it made my brain go in one direction and completely threw me off for the whole book.
Well, let's talk about the dual timelines, because this is obviously the number one thing people talk about when they talk about this book. We've obviously talked about the pacing of it, how we kind of felt it was handled. It was pretty split even between the 2 points of view. But did anybody, Lindsay, you said from the beginning, I think you and I are of the same mindset. We probably just fixated on, well, this is definitely going to be the mom. This is definitely in the past.
Yeah.
I do appreciate how she had the past and the future converge at the beginning to throw us off, because thinks she only gets visions of the past, but she's actually getting something from the future. So that was a great way of throwing us off the scent from the beginning. But what were your thoughts? I know you liked this the most.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I did pick up on the multiple timelines right away, but it in no way took away from my enjoyment of the book itself. I actually thought that the dual timelines were quite refreshing, to be honest with you. It just felt very different. Like I was saying before, it felt very different from a lot of books, and especially book 2s that I've read lately. It was a really different, interesting way to give us a very important backstory without just having the main character figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Like we could have learned all of this information through Odessa just straight reading her mother's journals and finding research and doing all these things. But so it was a different way of giving us that information and letting us as readers piece it together rather than the main character just going into her, her journal phase and book phase, which don't get me wrong, I love, but I don't know, it was just different. I really liked that.
Yep.
It was a nice contrasting pace from book 1. I mean, it was completely different. So in that regard, I did appreciate that. I go back and forth in my head if I'm like, would I have appreciated maybe a whole part 1 dedicated to just one POV or a whole part 2 dedicated to the other? Because I almost, obviously I can't change the way the author wrote it, but I keep wondering if maybe keeping me in a mindset rather than jumping me around might have just kept my attention a little bit better for it.
I think that's also because you guessed, but there's so many people that didn't guess that. And so the whole time of them reading the back and forth POV, they were waiting for their paths to converge. And then they got that moment where they're like, oh my God, their paths don't ever converge, right? And so I think
except
you
in the womb.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. True, but weird. So I think that, I don't know, I think that
That's
deception on her part is an interesting way to kind of keep everybody on their toes.
That is true.
I also really loved the dual timelines because, like I said, I really loved Caspia and I loved her story. Like you both, I figured out that she was Odessa's mother super early. And I think as soon as there was a time where I was like, oh, I wonder if Andreas was just a former lover. I was like, maybe it's a dad, maybe it's a former lover. I don't know yet. But as soon as he said to her, oh, I've got to go back home to Quintus, I was like, that's Papa. There he is.
Papa.
There's the king.
Look at your starbursts. I know
Look
that
at
color.
You. I know that color. You belong in Quintus. I liked the different timelines because I'm really glad that we have the story of Andreas, because I loved Andreas in this story. And to me, that makes his character as the king that much more complex. And I think can't wrap my head around why and like what made him treat Odessa the way that there are still so many unknowns to me, and I can't put together the Andreas that we learn to love in this book with the Andreas that we know from book 1 and from like the future timeline or the current timeline. And so I think that added to it for me for sure.
So it's funny you say that, because we did talk a lot about Andreas in our book 1 coverage, right? And what his true intentions are.
The nameless king.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Gold King.
Gold King.
Gold King.
think, and now it makes sense why she wouldn't name him, right? So
give it away.
I think, though, that it made me realize that, like, Andreas really isn't a bad guy in the first book at all. He's really not. Like, he's not mean. He's not, manipulative. He's not abusive. We see very little of him. And yet we all really wondered what his story was. And so I think it might be interesting reading the first part before Odessa leaves. And again, a lot of it is in Odessa's POV. And so there might be a little bit of bias towards her father, but I think now, knowing what we know, it would be really interesting to go back and read those first 2 or 3 chapters of Shield of Sparrows to see, oh yeah, maybe he's not the bad guy that we assumed he was,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I think in our coverage, we were unsure. We're like, is he good? Is he bad? Like, he just felt so neutral and we couldn't understand what his motivation was. So that would be a good thing to do. Go back and read it again.
It was funny how, since I guessed early on what it was, I then put myself in a position to assume, well, that can't be it. And so then I told you guys that I talked myself out of it, like trying to find the other plot that obviously was not there. So when I first met Andreas, I hated him as a character because I'm like, well, it's not going to be her dad. So he's going to be some loser. Like it's going to be something else. He's going to be something else. It's going to be
a Tamlin situation.
just something. He was going to backstab her or something like that. And I saw that he was going to have a future POV chapter before I got to it. And I was like, that's it. That's going to be the chapter where he unravels and he turns out to be this evil. I had a fake subplot in my head the whole time. And then I get and then I get there and I'm like, I made him so evil in my mind.
That was your fault.
Just read the character on the page. Stop looking for hidden meanings that really, really aren't
there.
That's
what we do, though. We look for hidden meanings.
We do.
Yep.
We do.
And I just spiraled hard on him, particularly that it got to the point where I probably will need to reread at least most of part 2 again, just to simply give him a fair shot in my head, because I feel like it's like when you wake up from a dream and you're mad at your partner because of something they did in a dream. I'm still mad at him for the fake arguments I created in my brain about his character.
That's really funny. That's so funny because I loved him.
About that.
I think you need therapy.
You guys,
maybe.
I think
you
you're
guys
talking
are my therapy.
To us.
Sorry,
okay, this is it.
And the whole internet. Hey, everybody.
Well, I think we should talk mainly about Caspia's timeline first, since obviously we know it's in the past. So first, Lindsay's going to give a little history lesson here. And I want to mention all of this before we dive in, because I think it is all important as we think through the history of the continents and everyone's individual motivations. Plus, I also have a feeling that a lot of this is going to be important moving into book 3. Okay, so history time. Reminder that Odessa is from the continent of Calandra, which has 5 kingdoms: Tura, Quintus, Ozarth, Lane, and Genesis. Across the Merricksmore Ocean is the continent of Ken, and we know that the 2 continents do not really interact with each other. Whether that's because of distance or technology or both, they do not really interact, right? Caspia is from Ken, this other continent, which has 4 countries. The largest is Nelfinix, which is where Caspia is from. And there are 3 smaller southern countries. One of them, 2 of them we don't know the names, but one of them is Bisan, which is ruled by a power-hungry tyrant who has been pushing on Nelfinix's southern border. Okay. History lesson complete.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, let's talk about Emery. So this is where Emery, who is Caspia's cousin, has been the entire time. Let's remember that Emery was kidnapped by the Bisons, her, quote, blood stolen by alchemists for experiments. They took my child. They ripped her out of my arms and used her to keep me captive, just like they used Max, which to me sounds like she had another child other than Graciela. So, big question here. Where are Max and the child now? Are we going to see them in book 3?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
probably.
Right?
I think that they are
Family
hopefully going to
reunion.
become a bridge of all
Yeah.
of the Ken continents.
Yes, right. Make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we're also overdue for like a massive, massive redheaded family reunion in book 3.
Love that.
Be like, hey, look, you guys all look the same. Yeah, because we're family. But obviously, the other question we have is how is this conflict just going to end? Or is it still occurring in Odessa's timeline, but she does not know about it, obviously.
Right. There's a lot she doesn't know about. A lot.
Yeah. I don't know.
I see a theory forming.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to say that my guess for book 3, which it's funny because whatever I guessed for book 2, it clearly was way off from whatever I said at the end of our book 1 coverage. And that's okay. Devney Perry, you have more of an imagination in your own world than I do. That is perfectly acceptable. But I do wonder if now the world opening up in this way is going to bring much larger conflicts, and that Odessa is not only going to have to deal with the orbs, but there is going to be more external conflict from other continents as well. I feel like that would give a lot of like layer and nuance to book 3.
There was also a part, I want to say it was in one of the very first few chapters, that used a word that I was like, that's a very close in the Beeson language that was very close to Voster. And so immediately I was like, oh my gosh, so they come from this exact same world on this continent.
Oh, do we get Beeson language too?
Yeah. Like we
I
got
think so.
pieces of their language. And so when Andreas
words,
also says, oh, that language is Beeson, that was kind of the bridge between their languages, right? What he was able to speak because of the Voster versus the language that Caspia was speaking because she's from a different country on Ken. I was like, oh, okay, so the Voster come from here. So it almost put me on the like defensive against them because I'm like, I trust the redheads, but you come from this continent and there's obviously war on your continent and you left your continent, obviously because some of these kings chased you from there. But I was like, oh, or are you also the secret like bad guy? Like almost like from a language perspective, I saw that and I was like, well, I don't trust you now because you speak the same language.
All right. Let's talk about our girl Caspia. The foreword in her first chapter is the following. A man with silver eyes drives his sword through Emery's heart. Feathers turn to flesh, wings collapse to arms, talons transform to toes. She falls from the stars with the silver-eyed warrior. My sister plummets to the earth until there is nothing but blood and dust. Now, immediately, I think all 3 of us knew that the Crux woman that we saw Ransom kill at the end of book 1, here she is. It's Emery, this poor woman who is a Swift who chose to turn into the Crux, and there she is. He killed her.
That was
That
like
was
the
an
one
exciting-
mystery that we were all like, okay, I don't think
Yeah.
we're going to work our way out of that one.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
definitely killed her.
He
Yep.
killed her. I think that was one of the moments for me where I started to realize for sure that the two timelines were past and future versus I did go back and forth. I started off thinking, okay, this is in the past. Then there were parts that I was like, wait a minute, are they just in two different places? Are they going to eventually converge?
Mhm.
And then figured out that no, wait, this is mommy and this is absolutely in the past. And this is one of those places where I was like, okay, she's seeing things happen in the future, and this is the Crux woman that we got to meet, that we all thought maybe she was Odessa's mom. We were wrong. She was a relative, though, so we give ourselves half a point there, half a point for guessing. Come on, we get half a point.
Maybe like an 8th because I think it was pretty obvious.
Listen, I want a whole half.
You can have half. All right.
Thank you.
What about learning about Nilfinix and how we are now in a completely different place from what we're expecting? In our Shield of Sparrows coverage, we wondered where the Crux came from. So immediately I was like, oh, this has to be it. It was surprising to me that the Crux were nice.
Yes, 100% agree with you. That was
Right?
surprising.
Mhm.
I assumed at first that the Crux also plagued this continent, but obviously was very quickly proven wrong there, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that then led me to be like, we learn about their migration, where they lay their eggs, that whole spiel. But then that's where I was like, okay, well, is it the continent of Calandra itself making them evil? Or these Voster used to be here, but now they're over there? Is it like a corruption due to the Voster that is making
Right.
them evil? I could not put my finger on for the longest time. I'm like, which one is it? And even if there were like sub factions within the Voster, like who was a good guy Voster, who was the bad guy Voster. So I do like that kind of mystery took a long time to unravel for us. I think it was far into part 3 before I was able to wrap my whole head around that one. So that was a fun thing not to guess.
Yeah.
Because we also know that the magic is different on Calandra, right? And we're going to get to that whole reasoning soon. Obviously, there's no starbursts in your eyes on the continent of Ken versus there is in Calandra. And we talked heavily about that in our Shield of Sparrows coverage about, well, there's clearly some kind of magic on Calandra itself that is driving something since it's impacting the people as well. But going back to Caspia and these visions she's getting, you say, Kelly, it was very obvious to you that she's seeing in the future. But she tries in her narrative to even throw us off because she says for the longest time, well, my visions have only ever shown me the past. So that's a way of kind of throwing you off the scent, not realizing that is the future, because it's almost like she's like, no, this is the rule. My visions are only in the past. And she gives like no grounds for changing her mind until very, very far into the book.
I'm remembering, I think the first vision that she had that made me really be like, okay, she can see like all across time is the boy that they end up like adopting essentially. And I cannot think of his name, but when she saw his situation when he left and he stole from where they were in the tents, that was the moment that I was like, okay, for sure, her visions are past, present, future. Like she can kind of see all. And I remember being really excited about that. I think I was listening to it on a long car drive. Like I remember being in the car listening to that happen, being like, ooh, okay, I'm happy. This is fun.
And I did question.
Costs,
yes. And I did question. I was like, is this like a changing of her because she's on Calandra? Like maybe you only saw visions a certain way because you hadn't yet gone through like what's the word? Her thrum had not yet appeared, so she only saw visions of the past. And when that thrum happened, that's when the visions changed, if that was like something related to that. So later, Brother Score, Caspia knowing him as Brother Nold in her point of view, tells Odessa that Caspia's visions were both of her future and yours, Odessa's as well. And some have come true, some might never. She was blessed by the divine, and by that grace, those stories will lead you to the other orbits. And so we got the word orbits. And that was a big one that I still have not figured out that part.
We can talk about it. We'll talk about it later.
Still, I'm like, okay.
We'll talk about it.
What you talking about, Willis? Orbits. We'll talk about those later.
Sounds like a
All
gum.
right.
It is a gum, right?
It is a gum.
Okay.
It is orbit gum. Okay. Just a single orbit.
You lint liquor.
You lant liquor. Who you calling a cootie queen, you lant liquor?
And her jaw goes.
Okay. Let's talk, though, about Caspia's visions of Andreas having a son. When looking at Margot, she thinks, quote, a lock of silky blonde hair, the same shade as the little boy from my vision. We assume that this is Arthelaus, or Arthi, as Odessa calls him. But is this vision simply to show us that Caspia knows they will get together? Or do we think Arthi is going to become important in book 3? To me, I see it as a little of both. I feel like you don't introduce a child and spend so much time on him if he's not going to come back. But I think he's a huge clue to Caspia to know something is going to happen where the two of you are not endgame, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. It was more heartbreaking than anything because it's like you've fallen for this person.
Yeah.
That was probably the harder part for me to read is I'm like, gosh, you have to read about something that is not going to be yours and his. And I just felt that just hurt my heart to read that part. She knows what's coming. Yeah. But I also...
But remember when she got the vision, though, she assumed that it was her child. It wasn't until she saw Margot that she realized that, wait, I guess that's this isn't my kid.
Yeah, I'm saying it's in that moment when she realized it. That's the heartbreaking part for me when she does realize it's not hers. But I also, going back to what you were saying, Kelly, about will Arthi be more important? I feel like kids a little bit weighed down this story. So if we're going to keep the kids in the story, we're going to have to do a time jump to where the kids aren't kids anymore, because otherwise I feel like they're involved in the plot, but they're not drivers of a plot. So I almost am like, if you're going to make him more important in book 3, I'm going to need a time jump. But I also don't know how I can accomplish a time jump because I feel like Ransom going to die if I jump too far into the future.
And we have to find the orbits. Like, we can't just jump. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yes. Okay. We also can't forget, though, that both May and Arthi are not Andreas's children. They apparently are Hawksley's, Margot's lover from before.
Literally, to find out that Margot and Andreas have never once had sex.
Literally.
I liked him more.
Wild.
I actually
same. I was like, thank God that fits
stupid.
Andreas to me.
But that was I was also like being completely unreasonable. I'm like, yes, you must remain celibate because she's gone now and your heart cannot go on. But I was also
after
really
all
happy.
This time, never one drunken night that
totally
unreasonable.
It's totally unreasonable. I totally get it. But in my heart, I was like, she deserves that much, sir. She died.
Yeah. It made me feel really, really bad for Margot, though. And I guess the only thing is knowing that Margot does have Hawksley because Margot was in love with him. And so there had to have been a moment where she realized that Andreas was never going to touch her and never going to have her and never going to love her. And that is heartbreaking to think about.
It is. Yeah, it is. I think that's why I wasn't so like, oh, this is unbelievable that they never have, because they could, if they don't love each other, they could both have other lovers. So I didn't think it was that crazy. I think it was, he was so heartbroken. And so I kind of liked that of his character. It fit his character for me, but it was really heartbreaking for me to realize that Margot was a good person. I mean, are you guys on
Which
team
we
like
thought.
Margot's a good person? Right?
Yeah.
I think she is.
We predicted that in book 1. We were like, there's something there about her. And I definitely do think this
She
validates.
knows something.
Yeah. The only criticism I think I can still say about Andreas is because I'm very happy that he pines for his dead wife. I should not be happy, but let's put that aside. It makes me happy, so we're going to go with it. But the one thing that did make me angry in all of that is that not for Margot's sake, but still for Odessa's, because it's like, that is your child. That is a piece of her. That is something you had of this person that you loved so much. And no, he wasn't always outwardly mean, but his abandonment, his lack of involvement with her was another sort of meanness of his character to his daughter. So I get your heart broken, but at the end of the day, and maybe it's just because I have a small child, so my thoughts are immediately like, you give up everything for your child first and foremost. And maybe obviously I'm a mother, he's the father. Feelings can just be different. But for me, I'm like, you have to do everything in your power for your child now. And he was and continued to be so withdrawn from her. That was the one thing where I was like, that still bothered me, because you do everything for your child. End of. You do.
Yeah, to me, I wonder how much of it is that he thought he was protecting her.
And maybe I just needed more of that so I could rationalize it, because I didn't get that. So in my head, I'm just like, I'm still not okay with that, you know?
Yeah. I agree with you, Catherine. That's why I have such a hard time with it, because the man he is now is so different than the man that he was. And I agree with you about, like, as a parent, like, that is your first instinct should be to protect. I do also think, to your point, you're right that he is the man. Like, I do think there is something to be said biologically of, like, when someone gives birth, you literally, there is a biological connection to that child. There's like that mother's instinct. And I think that he doesn't have that connection that Caspia would have. And so it's harder for you to imagine that, because you have that connection with your child that you gave birth to, and he doesn't, you know. And I'm not saying that a father can't have a deep connection, but I think that because he was able to shut that connection off easier, because he didn't grow the child in his own body, you know. Like, I think it
like, he
skews
honored
us.
his honoring her by not sleeping with another woman should have taken a back page to you honoring her by caring for her child.
100%.
And she
100%.
died. Like, that, I feel like
she is all you have left of her. Like, that's the part that I can't put those two things together in my head. I'm like, why would you not?
Caspia would be so disappointed in how you treated her daughter.
Yeah. I can't reconcile it yet. I'm hoping that book 3 will help me reconcile it.
All right. Well, more information that we get from Caspia. She says, we learn a Voster priest who didn't walk on the earth but floated above it had killed our mother. This is the high priest, assuming? So the high priest killed Caspia's mother? Why did that happen?
Right.
That's a big question
No
that
clue.
I have. I don't have theories, but...
Is it literally called high priest because he floats?
I don't think so.
But I mean, when you put it
He's
together,
only
in
the
that
highest
sentence,
of the priests.
my
I see
brain
him
immediately
floating about
thought,
this much.
is that really why he's the high
He
one?
hovers.
'Cause he
The hovering priest.
technically-
And he could be
No.
short.
It's
So,
his rank.
even though he hovers, he could be a little hoverer. And so
Though
there
he
could
hovers,
be a
he's
man
but-
that
You know
is
what,
still
guys?
taller
I'm
than
sorry.
him.
I don't care. It's canon in my brain now.
All right. Well, there you go.
Okay. He's a high
Okay.
priest because he hovers. Not true.
Getting back to real questions, any thoughts there? Do we feel like that's important? Is it going to come back to us? What's the thought there?
I'm split on if it's important, but I am not split on the fact that I need to know. You can't tell me that someone was murdered by someone that we know in the book and then not give us an answer to why. So
Yeah.
It's like who is your mother all over again?
Right. Just
yeah.
you can't leave that and not tell me. I'm just too curious. So I would like to say that it is important just so that I selfishly can know why. I just need to know. Tell me.
I like it. Yeah.
Just tell me.
And what about Graciela? Where's she? Will we see her in the next book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Bringing help from Ken, or is Odessa going to travel to her? Maybe because I feel like Odessa needs to leave this continent and not ever come back. Like, I feel like it's bad juju on this island. Bad stuff.
I don't know. I think
here.
she's stuck there. She's got to hunt down some orbits. So I think that she's stuck there for a time. I think that Graciela might come over to Calandra, is my guess. That's what I'm guessing. Stake in the ground.
Okay.
But then I worry what happens to anybody from their lineage when they come over here.
Yeah.
I don't want them to die.
I don't know if I think that they're going to come over, but I, at minimum, think that we're going to have multiple POVs and we're going to see things happen there. I don't know how much is going to happen there in their POVs, but I think at least that. I would like to see more of the Swift and the Starlings because I think there's interesting, but I don't know if I have a guess in how we're going to see them.
I feel like they will be a key somehow in this, like almost like you can't, orbits are one thing, but it's not complete. Like I feel like there's something that's going to come from there that is going to, I don't know, bring balance, for lack of a better word, in all of this that is going to be also key in this.
I mean,
see, I think the opposite. I don't think it's going to be balance. I think it's going to be war. I think that there is potentially a war raging on that other continent. And I think that is going to become another plot and another twist in peace in general, is how do you solve both of those issues at the same time?
I struggle with how you do that in one book. Like, that's going to be a big book.
Yeah. This is a long book, though.
I know.
It is a long
what you're
book.
talking about.
Well, I don't know.
She gonna get thick.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We like them thick. I like them round.
I like them
I like them chunky. Let's talk about Damon and Sally. In our Shield of Sparrows coverage, we talked about this exact story, and we see in this book that it was true, which is fun. I like getting those little tidbits. And Kath, you had a pretty wild theory about this claw.
Yeah.
Do you remember the theory?
Well, I thought the claw was simply going to be similar to like what's on her necklace, because I just thought it was going to be a metaphorical claw, not literally. He got a dead animal's claw around his neck. I mean, good for you. But I also feel kind of like that story was presented and then we went away. And I'm like, oh, it was like almost like a checklist item of I was given this story. It relates to this dude. And then I kind of moved on from it. And I was like, wait a minute. I was expecting that to be more involved.
You mean in book
like,
one?
Yes. Like I was presented with that. And so I thought that story in book one would relate more to maybe the main people of the plot, not maybe a
Mhm.
side character of the plot. But yeah, he's definitely just got a claw around his neck.
He
I mean,
sure
I
does.
thought it was a really cool callback that we got that story in book 1 and then we don't learn the truth about it until book 2. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Damon tells Odessa and Evie, quote, "Oh, this claw," he's talking about the claw. "Oh, it's from a lion wick. My father gave it to me. The story goes, he found the monster in a trap. As a gift for setting the beast free, the monster gave my father this claw. He wore it like this around his neck and never fell sick. He never felt pain. He gave it to me the day he decided to take his place in the shades. Now it keeps me healthy and strong, and someday I'll give it to my son." I love that backstory too, because to me, it does two things. One, it makes me want to continue to follow this claw when, like, where else is it going to go and what is it going to help you do? Because clearly you crossed paths with Damon and met him, and now I feel like they're connected in some way. But it also shows that the monsters are not all bad or monsters. Clearly, he was able to free the beast and he gave him something as a thank you and he gave him protection. So it's like another humanization, like a question for me of like, is this Lionwick actually a Swift that has like some of their humanity, I guess you can call it, still in them? And, you know, so it gave just another dimension to the monsters in this book, knowing that they're not all just these evil, awful, sick animals. They're a lot more than we thought.
Yeah. Well, of course, Odessa thinks to herself, quote, "Luella had said it was in the journal with the emblem of my own necklace on the cover, a journal that had led her to create the elixir that played its role in Lissa, a journal in my satchel." So this is giving us the first hint that these stories / visions are true. So the journals, Margot has one.
Yep.
Right? How did the rest of them get to Luella? The quote that we get, the only clue that we get is Luella had told me she'd found this book hidden away at the apothecary shop. Maybe the person who stole it from my father's cabin in Genesis had owned that apothecary. Maybe this book had changed hands dozens of times before it fell into mine.
But it's
I
convoluted.
gotta know.
Yeah. That journal
I
has
gotta
gone on
know.
a journey around
No,
a continent.
no, I don't buy it. I think it's way too
Convoluted.
you happen to then like find the person who you're gonna fall in love with. His mother is gonna have it. Happenstance? No.
Nope.
Bullshit. No, not that easy. I'm not saying that it wasn't stolen from the cabin, but like someone very specific stole that book and it got to very specific people for very specific reasons.
I'm with you.
And it got back to you.
There's a simple explanation we have not been given as to how
whether
that
it's like
happened.
The gods and fate and like something else. Sure, I would believe any of that, but like for it to just happen to be with her and she picked it up because she was like, "Oh, this is a fun looking book." Bullshitski.
Yeah.
Don't believe it.
I like that picture on the cover. Nope, there's more.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. I do hope we do revisit his story though. I hope it's not just a stagnated, oh, I got the story and then that's it. We don't ever go back to it. So I hope there's more to all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
The present timeline begins with Ransom and Trio looking for Odessa. And we all collectively loved the last line in Shield of Sparrows when he says, "I'm going to find my wife." We all love my wife. My wife, A+ terminology.
Where is my wife? Yep.
So I loved this opening. I loved that immediately he's like, my priority is Odessa, finding her, end of discussion. And he knows that she's going to bring Evie to Quintus. So that's where he's going to go to. But then that is the only chapter we get from his POV. And we had this like huge theory in our coverage that Ransom actually could read Odessa's mind.
You guys, I was
You wanna
10
cover that
toes
one,
down.
Missy?
I was
I
10
know.
down on that theory. And I don't know that I've been proven wrong
I agree with you.
in book 2.
I
Yes,
agree
But there
with you.
were not instances where I could
No.
continue my theory in this
Agreed.
book.
and that
I agree.
was another of my criticisms because of the
Of
fact
me?
No. The fact that your theory
dare
could
you,
not
Lindsay.
flourish, actually. No, my other criticisms was the fact that Ransom, our MMC, also stagnated for a lot of this book. And I think I
Yeah.
would have appreciated something moving forward more with him, particularly just moving the plot. I didn't get it with Odessa, but I also didn't get it with him. And now I have to be wondering, after all of that theory diving,
Mhm.
which has not been proven right or wrong in Rites of the Starling, and I lose a whole book and I don't get to find out anything about it, not even these little nuggets where I can be like, oh, my theory might still hold water. And
Maybe
I was
that
like,
shows
ugh,
how wildly off base
maybe,
my
Right.
maybe it
Maybe
is.
we
Just so
spiraled on the
wrong.
wrong shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize until much later in the book that we hadn't gotten a Ransom POV
Yes.
chapter. I had to look back and go, wait a second, that's right.
Yeah.
To me, though, I was not upset by a lack of character development for Ransom because I felt like he was taking a step back and making it about Odessa, about her learning and her journey. And I think that if he had taken over any of that and gotten his own development, it would have overshadowed her learning about her past and about her mother and about her family and about her future and what she must do. So I saw it as, just taking a back seat to his person and allowing her to shine.
Yeah, I could see that for part 3 for sure. But Odessa's not doing much in part 1, part 2. She's
Yeah, I would
walking
agree
around
with
a
that.
continent. So I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't getting anything from her in those 2 parts. So I'm like, give me something in the present. Ransom is a major character in that present where I'm like, okay, maybe we can move something with him.
Yeah.
And so that was probably where it was, is like everything related to them is kind of shoved into part 3. And there's just not a lot of movement for either of them in part 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think that was one of the things that I did not enjoy about the book was Odessa's initial journey with Evie. Like, I felt bad for Evie, but I felt like she massively held back the story from moving forward and the pacing of the story, but it's also realistic, right? And so I don't know if I want to be upset at the pacing because it is a realistic journey for a character to go through, but for the excitement of things, I found Evie, I kind of wanted her to just go away.
Yeah. It's because it just was repetitive at that point. Like you're right. It is realistic, but in a book, it becomes repetitive, especially when I think Caspia's chapters, so much was happening and progressing that it just wasn't equal pacing. And I don't write balance. I don't expect it to be just as exciting, but I think, it just was about how do I keep Evie safe and make sure she doesn't die. Like that was the whole thing.
I think maybe it would make sense if the balance was that Caspia's chapters were very moving forward very quickly and then dwindled, while Odessa's chapters started slow and then built up. Like there was some sort of like
counterbalance
seesaw to them. But maybe it's because Caspia's chapters were one thing after another, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this. And I think maybe we were expecting for Odessa's pacing to match that. I think.
To take off. Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of like, because that bothered me so much in the book, I'm like, maybe it should have been just a book, part 1 Caspia part to Odessa because it
Mhm.
became so glaringly obvious that Odessa is babysitting a child across the continent. And I feel for that child, but at the end of the day, I'm also like, Odessa has a lot on her mind that she needs to be doing herself and processing herself, and she really can't with this kid hanging on her the whole time.
Yeah. I would have been fine with the journey taking as long as it did if she would have learned more, or like
Yes.
that there would have been something happening that she was learning or discovering or feeling that would,
Yes.
and I would have been fine with like the slow pace of her journey. I will say, and I know we're going to talk about them later, but I do like Jody and the mavens that she meets.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that excited me, and I was thinking that was going to go further than it did, to be
Yes.
honest, but I don't know if I think that they're gone. I feel like they're going to come
No,
back
they come
in the
back
next
in the end
book.
of the book. They come back in the
Right.
end of this book. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I was expecting that even at the end of the book, like, to be even more with them. So I think that we're going to get them more in book 3. I liked them a lot.
Yeah.
They
There's
have
no
to.
doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even with like Brother Score's like journey he had, for lack of a better word, Odessa do through that like cave waterfall system. I was like, oh, good. We've got action. We've got stuff. She found the thing. And then he's like, okay,
Passes out.
go.
Passes
Be gone.
out. Yeah.
Be gone now. I'm not going to tell you anything about this thing. And I'm like, are you serious?
Listen, Brother Score. Well, something that we are pissed that we didn't realize that Lindsay researched for us is the word Lyssa. Lyssa is a minor Greek goddess. She is the goddess of rage, fury, and rabies in animals. She is often depicted as having wings. And also, the Lyssa virus is what causes rabies.
Like in real life.
Wow.
In
what
reality.
causes rabies in animals is called Lyssa virus. Why? Why did I not
We Google
that?
everything.
And we are
Google
obsessed with
everything.
name meanings for literally everything.
And I think, I don't remember why I Googled this, but I feel like it was something random when I was outlining. I think I Googled something else and then like clicked on something, and then like, I think I went down like a rabbit hole. And when I got to this, my point being, I didn't go, what does Lyssa mean? Like, I got there eventually and I was like, girl.
What's wrong with us?
Girl.
I couldn't believe it. So there you go.
Well, now we know. The more you know.
That's right. And we did talk about in our Shield of Sparrows coverage about why the animals are drawn to Odessa, if it was just monsters or all animals. And we get an answer here. It is because she is a Starling. So all animals. And I think, Catherine, you had a very strong
I was very
opinion
dead set.
that it was all
animals. I don't know why
So
that
you were
was
right.
the one hill I was like, I'm dying here on this thing.
Yep.
I've got
Yep.
receipts and I'll show them to you.
Yeah,
You were
for
right.
sure.
Yay, I got something right. Animals love you. And going back to Odessa and Evie when they're journeying with brother Dime, and then he hands her off to Brother Score. Brother Score brings Odessa into the cave where she touches the water, passes out. We learn later that he has her finding one of the orbits, which we're going to talk about orbits in a bit, because I have a lot of questions about them and I'm still a little bit confused on how that all works itself together. But I think I just wanted more from this scene. I was like, girl, you literally pass out and then he sends you on your way and that's it. And I have to wait until the freaking end of the book before this comes up again. I'm like, I was like, maybe we're going to go on a quest and we'll hunt for all of these around the continent and we'll go on a little adventure. No.
Going on an adventure.
Nope.
Another answer that we got, which I'm so happy we got, is the answer to the question about why Odessa is affected by the Voster magic when nobody else seems to be. Quote, "You are Starling. Magic is poison to your bloodline. But when asked why her magic is different, why her blood is red, quote, "You were born on this continent. Your father is Calandran. The magic in this land has been a part of you since your conception. The ancient texts say that the original Starling left when they became trapped in their shifted forms, when the monsters they became took control. I believe you are more like your distant Starling ancestors than you are your mother or relatives from Nelfinix."
But what about the thrum Odessa feels in book 1
Yes.
and at the end of book 2? Are we thinking that means that Odessa is going to shift?
I
I
think
mean-
she's being called on that, on her right.
Yeah.
I do.
So it does say in chapter 3, Caspia does mention that there are 2 Starlings in history that never shift.
Yes.
That they think that in 2 or 3 generations, the Starling gift would be diluted and they may not shift again, but just ride the Crux/Swifts instead. So there's a possibility that that quote is in there to show that there is hope for Odessa. But what are we thinking?
And there are 2 cousins that were in Caspia's point of view. But I don't remember if it was confirmed that they had felt a thrum, done what they needed to do, but not changed, or if it's simply they never feel the thrum, period. But more what confuses me still in this whole statement of his is that I believe you're more like your distant Starling ancestors than your mother or your relatives. Why are you making that? That's not how blood works. That's not logically how traits are passed down. Like
maybe not. We don't have starburst in our eyes. So.
But it was such a weird thing. Yeah, because she was born here. Like that makes I can understand that one. That logically makes sense to me. But I guess it's him making this blanket statement about her ancestry of, oh, you are simply not going to be like your mother. You're not going to shift. I'm like, what makes you an authority on Swift genealogy that you can just take this statement? So it's like, I don't believe it because it just doesn't seem logical to me. So I'm like, I don't think you saying this has any weight. And I don't think we get the word thrum without a right starting. I hope that right means I ride a Swift. I don't.
I mean, you have to wonder,
but
though. That makes me wonder, though, how much research Andres has done. Because if your wife dies and she's from a different continent and you're king on that continent, isn't your first order of business going to be to try to like go make contact with those people? Like, how being king have you never made contact?
Yeah.
Unless you have and we don't know about it. So that makes me wonder, Catherine, as you were saying that, maybe he does. Maybe that was like his first order of business as king, to make contact and do research and start to figure some things out. I don't know.
Yeah. I also wonder too if they put that sentence in there that you're more like your ancestors, because really originally it sounds like so it says the original Starling left when they became trapped in their shifted form. So does that mean that Swift and Starling way back when were able to shift and go back and forth between their human form or whatever they are, their Starling form, and their monster form? And is that what he is trying to say? Like, will Odessa have her right and choose her creature, but be able to constantly shift between those because the magic is diluted? I don't know, but I feel like there's a reason why they put that in there. I don't know why else he would say that, you know?
Yeah. I need more. If it's one of those statements where I just have to take it, it rubs me wrong because I'm like, okay, but it's not one that I can easily accept. The other thing that I'm also struggling with is that they choose their form. It doesn't have to be a Swift. And if I think about Odessa as a character, it's not Swift. If anything, it's Tarkin. Like, if you think about the animals she's more like closely bonded with. So then I also find it to be a stretch if she ends up being a Swift. Like, that doesn't seem
Why
like
are you assuming she's going to be a Swift?
I should not assume that. I should not assume that. I just have like, when you think about like the big guns, the coolest animal to turn into, you think
because
maybe
of the migration.
Yeah, you think,
like,
and how that's like the big honor is like that, like her family, that's what they mostly are. Like, it's more Swift driven in their family. I mean, obviously we have the one cousin who didn't, but it's very, very Swift heavy in her family. So I just make that assumption, but then have to argue against it immediately because I'm like, but I think she's more of a Tarkin. Like, that's her zodiac symbol in my mind.
You know what I just realized too? We talked a lot about the last name Cross. But correct me if I'm wrong. This is really just like, why can't I not think of the word?
Coincidence?
This is really just a coincidence that his last name is Cross and Crux means cross, and that's what she turns into. It really is just a coincidence.
I guess so.
Dang it.
Why did we look up that name and we didn't even look up fucking Lissa? What's wrong with us? We need to be more complete in our stalking of names.
I know. Well, it just, dang it, as a deep diver, I wanted there to be a big theory about that, and it was just a coincidence. It was just one of those funny, if you know, you know. And that's funny.
And we're just thinking, but that's on the wrong side of the family. So
it's on the wrong side of the family. Right. So he must have been told that he had to protect her anyway.
Odessa gives Allure a vial of her spit in order to use it to make a cure for Lissa from that. But then we get the vision at the end of the book. Do we want to read part of that vision? Basically, it's talking about a silver-eyed warrior falling to his knees as the ground trembles. There's a monster there. He calls the monster my queen. So do we really think the cure is going to matter?
Yes, and here's why. Let me tell you my dissertation onto why. No. Earlier in the book, when we get the vision from Caspia about the boy who's the son that she thinks is going to be her son with Andreas, and then she meets Margot and realizes, oh, this is not going to be my son.
Yeah.
I think another purpose of that vision is to show us that her visions may not always be fully correct, or they may not be fully what's the word?
Like it can be changed.
It could be changed, or that she might not perceive the vision in the right way. Like she might think it means XYZ, but actually it means XYH. Like, you know what I mean? Like it, and so I'm wondering if this vision, either one, can be changed and can come true because now Odessa's gonna make some different choices and change the timelines, or if the vision is partially true, but he is not going to die. Or because I know the last sentence of that vision is like, he says this with his final breath, right?
Yeah, meets his end.
Is it his final breath before he meets his end? Does she see him meet his end in the vision?
So that, going back to Lindsay, you just asked me, you said, why do you assume she turns into a Starling? I realized it was this one because he says massive beating wings. So that's why I assumed it. But to your point, Kelly, about not interpreting visions correctly, he could assume, based on what he knows about Odessa's family, that she's going to turn into a Starling, this winged animal.
The Swift,
Yeah, she could. Yes, the Swift, sorry. She could absolutely see a vision of him making an assumption that the winged creature in front of him is his wife, and he's just wrong about that statement. So he thinks she's turned into this monster, this swift, and that's not even actually her. So she could be standing behind being like, I got the vial, I got the antidote right here. And runs and
Something
screams.
else.
So to your point, I feel like she's either, and I kind of think I would prefer that because I'm like, I still go back to the fact where I'm like, I don't feel like she's a swift. Of her animal of choice is not a swift. That's just not her character.
Yeah. I don't know. I think things could be changed. I don't think I don't think we're going to also lose Ransom.
I don't think we are either.
This is
because
romantic.
I was shocked that we lost
that
Caspia.
Happens, like if
we lost Caspia. She was the FMC of book 2.
But she's not
but she's not the FMC of the story.
She's not. She's the mom.
Main one.
Like
she's just the mom.
We can't lose the MMC. That's not romantasy. If I lose the MMC, then I'm like, what are we going to Romeo and Juliet?
It's more epic fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm reading this as romantasy. I'm going to need a trigger warning for that one.
Okay, but let's think about it. This vision is assumably one of Caspia's, right?
Correct. Yeah.
About the silver-eyed warrior, and Odessa read about it in the journal. Was this the exact detail that went into it? Or is this Odessa's interpretation of what was written in the journal?
Or
things like, and before the warrior meets his end, he whispers. Was that written because how did Caspia know that? Or, you know what I mean? So I feel like there's a lot of, it isn't her vision. She didn't see it. She's reading about a vision that somebody else wrote on paper. I feel like there's a lot of interpretation that can be happening.
And also Caspia's own interpretation of a vision she saw of a warrior she never meets. Like it can also be her wrong interpretation
thing.
Yeah. Like obviously that can be Ransom, but again, Caspia never experiences these moments in real life. And her interpretation of it is not going to be set in stone as to what actually is going to happen on the page. Obviously, because they're not going to freaking die. They can't die.
One thing that bothers me to this day that I can't get out of my head is that when Odessa is born and they try to hand baby Odessa over to Andreas, he says, quote, "Keep her away from me. It's for her own good." Why? Why does he say this? Is he just totally devastated? Is there something deeper there?
Whatever it is, it goes back to our conversation we had earlier about him thinking he's protecting her. I don't know from what.
Right.
I hope it becomes something.
Same.
Because if it's not, and if it's just your grief, keep her away from me, it's for her own good. Like, sorry, you're going to go down in my estimation as a character because that's not what you do with your child.
100%.
So I'm like, it has to be more. To save your character.
Put a pin in it.
Save your character. You better have more, sir. Give me more.
100%.
Well, okay,
100%.
Talking about dads, what about Ramsay? Why is Ramsay in cahoots with the high priest? Does he know everything?
I don't think he does personally. I think
he knows some things.
Why is he in cahoots with the high priest?
Or
because that makes him bad.
Said a different way, what is the high priest potentially doing or forcing Ramsay to do that we might not know about? Because
is he being controlled?
Yeah, because I still go back to who I have to pick as like my bad guy, you know? And so we talk about like not knowing motives of a lot of characters, right? And I still think this is a situation because I go back to book 1 when Ramsay got mad at Luella because at the whole of what she did, the crux of it, was she poisoned his son. and gave him a disease that he is now dying from. So I still hearken back to that with regard to Ramsay as a character. So I have to wonder if there's something there that I don't know about. So I still want to put a pin in his character.
So this is making me think, though, now that I had that whole rant about how finding the journals before just happenstance was bullshit. I'm wondering if there is a connection between Ramsay and the high priest, and Ramsay knows a whole lot more than we think he does. And he got his hands on the journals in some way because he knew about Ken and he knew about the Swift and he knew about something more. And I don't know if I can put the pieces together right now, but it's making me think that maybe he does know a whole lot more than we're giving him credit for.
Either way, I would like to say that I picture Ramsay as Tywin Lannister.
Okay.
When I read about him, that's who I picture in my mind, is
Okay.
Tywin Lannister.
Book
There you go.
Tywin or TV show Tywin?
TV show. That specific actor, I think.
Okay.
You know, just putting that out there.
Let's talk about some maidens. Okay, thoughts on Jody first, because the banter, I actually I liked it. I don't care if it pissed off Ransom. I really liked the banter that we got between Odessa and Ransom, and how it kind of shifted to Odessa and Jody. But am I alone in that? Did you guys also like it?
I loved it. I loved him.
Did not like it
Because
I liked it for Jody. I did not like it for Jody and Odessa because part of Odessa and Ransom falling in love and making that connection was challenging each other and having that banter. And so I found it to be a replacement of banter from book one. And I did not like that banter happening between them.
You wanted your MMC to come in and banter with her and this guy.
Right. I didn't like that I got it from someone else.
See, I saw it as obviously Ransom is her person, her husband. I saw the banter as more almost like this. Obviously, he has the hots for her, but not in a real serious way. So I saw it almost as like a sibling banter on her side. So I wasn't upset with it because she's not romantically inclined towards him. I didn't interpret him as having any hope to get into her pants at all. So I just saw him as
someone
a friend.
Her off.
Yes. Yeah. I just saw it as that, and I took it for the fun it was meant to invoke.
I think it was too similar to her banter with Ransom in the first book for me to really like it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I liked it because to me he was just doing anything that he could to get under her skin, and I don't think that she fell for it at all. And I found that funny because I liked the comparison of like, the banter is similar. And it just showed me how much she does love Ransom because she let it get to her with Ransom and was molded by it and went back with him. Where with Jody, she was like, I have no patience for you. Meanwhile, if Ransom did and said the exact same thing, she would have been all about it. And so I kind of liked that, and it made me just like Jody even more.
Now, by the end of the book, am I shipping Jody and May? Absolutely. Right?
Yep.
But I think also I was missing so much of Odessa and Ransom being together throughout the first part of the book that when this happened, it just felt like, I don't know, like I said, it just feels like a cheap shot somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, because we get stuck with them together for a large part because, I mean, it's well into part 2 before she comes back together with Ransom. So I can see that bothering you. But I agree with May at the end because they're of the same caliber, and I interpret a whole lot of like hate sex in their future.
They are Cassian and Nesta
Yes,
to me.
100%.
In terms of the vibe.
That's right.
Yes, yes. I did, and I do love Jodie as a character, and I was going to say something else, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, I also love that Jodie knew who she was the whole time. I think that makes it better to me that he was
He's smart.
like fucking with her. Yeah, and he knew exactly who she was the whole time. I just like him. I like him a lot.
But what about the leader, the enslaver almost of the Mavens Salem? Like, what do we do? Do we think he's just kind of this bad side character who's really not going to go anywhere? Do we think there's a hidden identity? He's somebody else in there? Thoughts as to who that could be? Kelly, you go. You're like bursting at the seams.
No, I don't know. I don't think I thought of him as a hidden identity necessarily. He seems like someone who might become important because, again, I don't think the Mavens are going to disappear in book 3. And so I'm curious how he is connected, if at all, to any of the other bad guys or anyone in general. Like, is he... What role is this person going to play? I just have a lot of questions. What do you think, Lindsay?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that he is going to come up as some sort of faux character for book 3, but I don't have anything other than that.
Like big foe, little foe.
Little foe.
Little foe.
Little foe.
Little foe.
Subplot foe.
Subplot foe, for sure.
Closure for one of our minor secondary tertiary characters. Got it.
Yeah, I would like the Mavens to be free of their debts and like free to roam about the cabin, if you will, at the end of the book. All right. We've talked a little bit about Evie. We have not talked about Faze, though. So what do we see in the future for Faze? I worry, I'll be honest, about Faze because I can't see a world where Faze is allowed to remain unless that whole story about the claw and the lion wick being kind and giving protection was for this exact reason, to show that maybe Faze could be domesticated and live in a palace with a little princess. But I don't know. I worry about Faze a lot. What do you guys think is going to happen with him?
I want him to be Raja.
Yeah.
So to your point, in a palace with the princess, yes,
there
and
you
not
go.
killing her and just being her protective little pet.
Adorable. I would like that.
Yeah, I think that when I finished book 1, I really thought that Faze was going to be more important than the role he was given in book 2. That doesn't mean that he will not become more important in book 3, but I think I was surprised by his lack in book 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
He's also the same with any child that we've met. He needs to grow up to become, I feel like, more important. And I don't know if we have the time. I know animals age faster, but I still don't think we have the time for him to be considered a full-grown Tarkin.
I know. I will say it will bother me a lot if there's not some kind of ultimate finale with both Evie and Faze that makes it feel like their role in book 2 was worth it. Or else why? And I feel like I think Devney Perry is smart. And so I feel like we just need to trust that it's coming, because or else I just don't understand any of it without some kind of bigger payoff. I don't think that either of them need to be a main part of book 3, but I think something big needs to come of it, or else there's, in my opinion, there's no point. Yeah.
So that leads us in then also discussing another child in this book, Koss. What was his purpose either? Because he's someone who is close to Caspia. Could he do something more for Odessa in the present time as a grown-up person? give her another journal? Is there just something more to him? It's like, what is the import of all of these children? There's a lot of children.
Him especially, because we could have gotten the journals from his father. So why include him? So I'm assuming he will be more of a maybe it's just a support of Odessa and her goals in the next one, like this rallying of friends and people behind me.
Is there any chance? What's the guy's name from book 1 that had the printing house?
Samuel Hayes.
Yeah. Is there any way Kos grew up and changed his name to Samuel Hayes?
No. Don't they talk about...
No, you're right. You're right. No, I just realized it in my head as I was saying
Odessa talks to him.
Yeah. Nope, never mind. Yeah. Never mind. I got there eventually in the end. No, it's just there's too many children.
Here, I think that he could play a bigger role, but I also could see a world where his purpose in this book was to have us have an moment with her visions of this is what she saw, this is what she meant, the pet that he named and all of this stuff. It, like, to me, it could have just been like things that happened along Caspia's life journey that made its way into the journals that allowed Odessa to see what this all was and make the connection. And I think that could be enough of a role for him. I don't think I need him to play a bigger role, because to me, that moment and her realizing that this was the vision in that book would be enough for me, you know?
It almost feels like we've gotten too many minor characters, really.
And you can't wrap them all up. You can't. Yeah. And that, so this would feel like that's a bow. That his purpose was, he served his purpose. He is their way to have a child together that they care for, because they don't get to do that with Odessa, right? And so this is like their way to help raise someone and show them love, and then ultimately help Odessa make a really major connection and then fade into the background.
All right. Well, the Voster.
Creepy crawlies.
Now, in general, without going into too much detail, because we're about to talk in detail about them below, but in general, what are our thoughts on the Voster after reading this book and going into book 3? Do we trust them?
No.
I think we need to distinguish. I think as a group, you can't just say, yes, I trust the Voster, or no, I don't trust the Voster, because to me, they're individualized now. And so
that's fair.
Depends which Voster. Like, what side are we talking?
Voster as a people? No. Certain Brotherhood members? Yes.
Okay. So the OGs from Ken, you trust or you don't trust?
Don't. All right, let's get into the details about the Voster. Let's start with the Voster High Priest. He has green blood, as does Caspia. I love how you just saluted me with the pretzel stick.
With the pretzel?
The Voster originally came from the continent of Ken, same as Caspia. They lost a war to Bisa, that kingdom, and were driven away to Calandra to escape religious persecution. They worship a god whose name is no longer spoken, but remember, Brother Score
that bothers me.
Talks about the divine, as does Caspia, and he's part of that group that made it out with the help of the 3 Starlings. I honestly, for most of the book, assumed divine was that god's name. I know it's stated as unnamed, but I just assumed that honestly was the name. The thing I struggled with the most was the language of the journals being Beeson, specifically Beeson, not coming from the language of, because she spoke about there's this like dialect difference between what Caspia, the language she speaks in her kingdom, versus that Beeson language. So I already didn't necessarily trust everything we read in the journals, because I think at one point Andre says this is written in that Beeson language. Knowing then that the Voster were kicked out, I had to wonder, well, you're really freaking creepy guys. Are you inherently bad? And is it a good thing you were kicked out? Because as we talked about earlier in this episode, right, the Swift go to Calandra, bad stuff happens. Did bad stuff happen on the continent of Ken while the Voster were still there, and it stopped because they were kicked out? And so that's where I already began the story with massive distrust for them as a whole, as people. So that's why when I say I distrust the Voster as a whole, that's kind of where it all stems from me.
Weren't the journals only in Beeson because that is the language that Andres and Caspia had in common?
Then why did she write it in that language? That's what
so that her husband could read it.
Fair.
That's what so I didn't equate it to having anything to do with that. I assumed that since that's a language that they had common roots, that she wrote it so that her husband could
He can actually read it.
He could interpret them. Yeah.
That's fair.
I could be wrong.
I don't even remember that they were in Beeson, so this is your conversation here.
No, I like that explanation. That can kind of help, because I was always wondering if there was something sinister behind the journals, because she obviously does not know her mother's handwriting. She never met her mother. So the fact that they were written, we assumed by Caspia this whole time, but they were written in that Beeson language rather than her inherent language from her specific kingdom, made me wonder if the Voster had written some of the pages or manipulated some of the journals themselves, because she wouldn't even know her mother's handwriting and the fact that it was in that language.
Does Odessa speak Beeson?
That is the language of the Voster themselves. And I thought that was the language that then evolved into the common tongue in Calandra. I think that's how it worked.
Okay, so if that's true, it is then could it be possible that Odessa, reading these journals, who is having to translate it from a slightly different dialect of a language, is reading them and getting words slightly wrong, and which is why we maybe have some faith that Ransom is not going to die at the hands of a crux at the end of his life, because maybe her things are getting slightly altered in translation.
Also, do we know, I was going around and you say that they're written in Beeson. Do we know that the journals are written in Beeson?
Yes, because she's having Brother Score is teaching her the Beeson language so that she can translate them, because he says it's written in my language.
So, when you say she, do you mean Caspia or
Odessa? Odessa's reading the journal. She doesn't know the language. And when she's Brother Score, it says it's Beeson. It's written in my language. And so he's teaching their language so she can translate it. And so right then and there, I was like, it just seemed very strange to me. I like Lindsay's explanation. She wrote it in that language so her husband could understand it. Because until you said that, I kept being like, we know that your language from your specific kingdom from Ken is different than the Beeson language. Why would you write it in a Beeson language instead of your own language? That's what I couldn't put my finger on. I like Lindsay's explanation that the journals were simply written in Beeson so that Caspia could write something that Andres could read himself, rather than writing it in her actual specific language of her country in Ken, which is slightly different than the Beeson language. I like that explanation. I worry, though, because Odessa doesn't know her mother's handwriting. And yes, some of these visions have come to pass, absolutely. But I worry about the fact that it was written in Beeson, who necessarily wrote the journal? Could she have actually put pen to paper herself, this being Caspia, or could she have told somebody these visions and they wrote it down? Could they have read Caspia's journal herself and then pick and chose what to write then in this Beeson language? It gave me inherent.
You think there's
and
foul
by
play?
someone you mean the Voster
specifically.
Yeah.
If they've manipulated the entries, taken the real journal, piece together what they want to be read.
I don't think
deep
so.
Fake.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the symbols on the journals are the same. I think we get proof. I don't think that a Voster has taken over the journals personally. I don't know.
I hope you're right. Put me out of my misery, and I hope you're right.
Well, let's keep talking about the Voster. So the high priest does sign the 8, although someone like Brother Hayne has learned the truth and he started to worship the divine again, which is a very interesting tidbit that we get. The great enemy of the divine is the infernal, and the 3 starlings that Brother Score made it out of Ken with, they shifted on Calandra and only one made it back alive. So who is this one that survived? And is this all to show us hope that Odessa will be able to shift and survive it?
Yeah, I think about this one a lot.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Like, is it roaming around? And how many others are roaming around? And as Ransom has been running around in book 1 killing animals.
See, part of me worries that the one was the one that Ransom killed at the end of book 1. Because just because Brother Score came with these 3, they shifted and one survived, they made it back alive, doesn't mean it's still alive. Emery. Oh, Emery didn't leave with him.
Yeah.
Emery didn't leave with him.
That
there
was
you
Emery,
go.
yeah.
Okay, so then it has to be somebody different. Okay, good.
And a while
I was
ago,
worried
because I mean, the Voster are very old. Remember,
True.
So this
Yeah.
happened a long time ago.
Yes.
So if that creature is still around, it is very old.
Got it.
But I
Got
also
it. Okay.
have to wonder, just because it was alive doesn't mean it ever turned back. And so
True, it could still be.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's still shifted. Yeah.
So that doesn't really make me feel better about Odessa's fate, because I don't want her trapped as a bird either.
No, I don't think
know.
she's going to get trapped. I think she's either going to shift and be able to shift back and forth, or
Not
Catherine's hope that she doesn't shift, but she bonds with maybe a Swift,
maybe that
or
one
a
that's
Tarkin
been flying around this whole time. That's the one she's going to bond with.
Because maybe it's an ancestor. Who knows?
I would like her to break the mold. And
Yes.
I honestly would like no more shape shifting and just bonding. I would like us to let's go into 3 with something different.
If the men find out we can shapeshift, sorry, they're going to tell the church. Anyway, I had to finish that.
So there's a lot of information about the magicians. Okay, let's dive into this. The magicians had once been ordinary men of a religion that worshipped Calandran spirits. They lived in a monastery deep in the mountains. One harsh winter, the men found themselves without food. They were near starving and on the brink of death. They prayed to their spirits, begging for help and to spare their lives. By the time the ice melted, nearly every man at the monastery was dead, all but 6. Feeling forsaken by their spirits, the men began worshiping demons who reveled in lost and angry souls. And the remaining 6 men made those demons a bargain. For magic and immortality, they offered their bodies as hosts. Possessed by these demons, the men became magicians. They fooled people into believing their power was a blessed gift to save humanity. They were worshipped and revered until all of Calandra bowed at their feet.
Now, that sounds like some false god propaganda. If you're talking to me about it, Caspia even herself wonders if there's something significant to that number 6, because we know there are 6 new gods. I think that was what we talked about. They were distinguished from the old gods. There were 6 new gods. And it's interesting, though, that there's supposed to be female gods, too. So perhaps this might be completely unrelated to that. But the Voster tells Caspia that these magicians were the 6, and then the 8, assuming Amma and Oda, the old gods, and that their true story has changed over time.
Yeah, so how did these men gods become women gods?
Yes. Maybe balance.
Really
maybe
or this story isn't true.
the story's not true.
Not true.
Maybe they're like,
really
well, we
bad
can't
telling it
have
over time.
all men gods. We've got to create some niceness in our deities. So we're going to have love gods. Then that's the plane you want to go and live on in your afterlife.
We get a quote. "This land is cursed. The magicians did something to Calandra. In humans, it's the reason they have starbursts in their eyes." Thank you for telling us why. In the Voster, it gives you magic. In the Starling, we lose control over our bloodline's gifts. I don't understand why certain animals become monsters here while others don't. Maybe they were never meant to be a part of this continent like the Swift. But regardless, there is something wrong with Calandra. Interesting. The magicians were burned and their ashes were put into the glass orbits. And so the way to end this curse is to, therefore, destroy the orbits. We've got to get the orbits.
Which I have more questions about, because if they were granted immortality,
yes, thank you.
Then how were they killed and burned and put into the orbits?
Yeah, thank you. Because that's why I don't
think destroying them is. I think it's going to release a whole bunch of nasty shit.
But like
we keep saying, it's only a third book.
I know.
That's why I don't understand the concept.
I have no clue where the plot is going
at all. Like that. Like to your point, that was why I'm like, I don't understand the orbits, because I feel like I've left logic behind. They were demons, maybe gods. Definitely immortals,
cannibals,
worshipped by everybody. Who was powerful enough to burn literally all 6 of the most powerful beings on your continent and put them into little glass balls like that? Like
itty bitty living space.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue to talk about them. So it says, if we destroy the remains of the 6, I believe the magic in our lands will vanish. The Voster will do everything in their power to stop that from happening. We are fortunate that they have yet to understand the moves we've made against them, but that fortune will not last. I know. That's ominous, right? That
really
fortune
ominous.
will not last.
That's coming.
And Ransom is loyal to the high priest. And this is still very, very dangerous for our guy, right?
Yes.
Odessa even asked her father what is in Alisaria, and he says that he thinks the Turins built their capital city there to protect the Voster sanctuary. But remember that up until 30 years ago, the capital used to be Paris.
Mm-hmm. And
I
what
don't know,
happened
the
30 years
timing
ago?
of that,
right?
Yes.
The Crux migration, unless there was something else that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's some suspicions there that all is not quite adding up to me, right?
Yeah.
But they think that the Pry Priest might have an orbit, so this would make sense why they changed the capital and cloaked it would be to hide the orbit. So destroying of Paris may not have had anything to do with the Crux. They may have done it on purpose.
That's true. That's a good point.
Destroy Paris, destroy the orbit.
Destroy Paris, destroy the orbit.
Save the
also,
cheerleader.
I have a hard time picturing what the orbit looks like.
It's a big... Oh, I got one for you. It's right here.
But see, then it should just be called an orb. Why is it called an orbit?
Oh, see, mine's not an egg. Mine is a ball. And it is glass, but inside it is blue and sparkly and has like you know,
that's an
when you go to
orb.
the science museum.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's an orb, not an orbit.
Because
I don't know what an
when
orbit
you
means.
An
put
orbit
them
is the track that goes
together,
around something.
Lindsay, when you put the 6 together, they do this.
They better, because I'm not impressed.
Orbit, wait, I'm looking it up. Hold on. Yeah, an orbit is a regular repeating path that one object takes in space
It's a
around
path.
another. It's a path.
Is there like a fourth definition?
Not an orb. This is an orb.
Maybe she
Yeah.
wanted a fancier word.
But it's wrong.
I don't
Hold
like
on.
it.
I don't like it either.
1 second.
I'm not lying. I'm not arguing with you. But
Yeah,
Because I had
orbits
a-
are mystical glass spheres, so it's wrong. And
Mm.
it's called an orbit, but no, she calls it a mystical glass sphere, but that's not what it's called. That's not what it is.
You just said an orbit is called a mystical glass sphere.
in Rites of the Starling.
Oh, I thought you were looking like in the dictionary.
In the
I was
Googles.
looking in the dictionary and I was looking at
Got
I
it.
was
Okay.
comparing them. Mhm.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know.
but this
Any hooty hoo.
this still goes back to my wonderings about the fact that they okay. I'm trying to process all this, so forgive me
Process
if I'm going to
away.
be a bit scattered. We have these 6 demon magicians in Calandra, and that's what made Calandra bad news bears, okay? We've got the Voster, who came from a continent, kicked out of specifically, literally hunted down to extinction, and the few that still remain on the continent are still being hunted down to extinction. They were bad on that continent. They've come to a bad continent, and they're bad there as well.
Say bad again.
Say bad news Fosters. That's why I don't trust the Voster as a whole, and I guess that's why it's going to be like Lindsay with what's the mother's name? I know it's going to be that when we get to book 3, but that is why I don't trust the journal. This is all going back to that. I think that there is some manipulation in there to why these visions are not going to be accurate, because the Voster I don't trust them. That's all it is.
Yeah, see, and I don't disagree that I don't think the visions could be all fully accurate. I just don't think that has anything to do with the Voster. I think that has to do with
Really?
her visions not being accurate. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think the
I don't
Voster are
connect
connected
the
to them
journal.
at all.
I
You
don't
don't see
connect the
that
journal and the
taking like
Voster
a
at all.
sinister plot towards that. It's
No.
like they're sinister
Literally
enough
none.
in their lane.
Yeah, I don't
No.
think they have anything to do with the journals. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Love you, but
And I
harshly,
I hope that you want to
fast
die on that hill
disagree.
and that you're
and
right.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't
For
necessarily
you.
need to be right. I
I
don't
hope you're
care.
right for you, but
Yeah, because it's such a different. I don't think anyone else has that theory, to be honest. And
That
so
would
I
be
want you to be like,
amazing,
"Ha,
because-
ha, ha." Yeah, right.
I also,
exactly.
again, the same thing. We only have one more book. If this was 5 or 6 books, all of these things would start
Could
to make sense.
happen.
But we're not getting new theories, guys. We're closing the doors on ones that we already know.
We've got to.
Remind me, did we find out exactly why the Voster were kicked out from where they were?
Just religious persecution was the only reason.
There was
we're
nothing
told.
more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Which again is very telling,
Yeah.
right? That you were kicked out for religious persecution and now you come over to another continent and you call yourself a priest. But I don't think that that's connected to the journals, personally.
No. I was leaving that behind and just kind of,
Yeah.
Questioning.
yeah.
I think they want the magic. I think they want to protect the orbs and they don't want the orbs to be found because they want the magic to remain because they are currently the most magical beings.
Yeah.
Right? They are the high priest. They are a race held into
Right.
held above the rest. And I think that's what they have claim on. And so they don't want the orbs to be found because they don't want to break that for themselves.
It's so
I think they've become hungry on the power.
I agree.
Yes, I don't disagree with any of that. It's just so very interesting, this almost beautiful story of like the Starling rescuing the Voster, that I also can't kind of wrap my head around like how that plays into it, because it's like we've presented them as bad on that continent, even worse on this continent. Yet the Starling, who I kind of picture as good, choosing the Voster, and I still just can't wrap my head around that.
Well, so think about this step in between there. I think that might give you that key, is that they weren't necessarily bad on their other continent.
They were just kicked out.
Were kicked out, right? And they were helped onto this other place by the Starling. Again, also good, right? Inherently is what we're saying. And it wasn't until they got to this land and they got magic that they didn't have on their other lands, right? And I think that after all of these centuries and all of this time has passed, they now have become drunk on that magic and on that power so much that some of them have been corrupted and some of them are now realizing that there's a link to their people that can be good. And this is where we talk about Brother Score and Brother Dime. Those are those people, right? They've realized that there's more to their people than the power that they've gotten used to. And so someone like the high priest is the bad guy because he's gotten used to that. He's gotten corrupted by that. And he wants to stop the orbs from being destroyed so that he can keep that power.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Does that help solve that,
I guess,
for you?
The only part of it that's I still struggle with is, I guess, because I know they became so bad, maybe that's why I assume they started bad too, simply because they were hunted to extinction on their continent. So I'm like, you don't hunt to extinction good guys.
That's not true.
Who then
not true.
No, I know. I'm no. Who then also coincidentally turn into very, very, very evil bad guys. So I'm like, I assumed there had to be some evil present, and I think that's probably where my assumption. It can absolutely be wrong.
But don't forget also that there in Caspia's timeline is another war going on with the southern continents.
Yeah.
Who are pushing against the borders. So just because the Voster were kicked out of their country doesn't mean they were kicked out for being bad, because we are still seeing that happen again and again and again in the timelines, and history is repeating itself. So to me, it actually speaks more that the Beesons that are currently in rule that kicked the Voster out and are now trying to encroach on, the rest
southern
of Ken and Nelfenix, those are the bad guys. They're the guys that are pushing,
And which one of you said you thought we would be leaving to go to that other continent?
Lindsay.
I think we're going to see the other continent. I don't think that Odessa is going to go there.
Okay.
I think that it's going to come into play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that war and that conflict is going to come into play, or else why mention it? Why talk about it?
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Why? Why bring it up?
Yeah. And Kath, to your point too, like I agree with Lindsay, because we see it every day that people in power just decide that a group of people are bad and don't want them in their country and kick them out.
Oh, for sure.
Hello.
For sure.
Hello, world. And to me, yes, like the Voster coming over and then being like the high priest being bad here, it's like a traditional stereotypical villain origin story.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess that's really what it is.
Some of them go that path and some of them don't. And it's like it's like a Marvel villain origin story to me. So I could see it happening. And it doesn't mean I didn't get the impression that they were necessarily bad when they were in Ken. It was neutral to me. I couldn't tell if it was that the royalty or government or whoever was ruling was in the wrong, or if they were. I can't tell from what we learned in either of these books.
Yeah. I don't know why I went there. My brain just went
because
there.
you just didn't like them in book one. Like we thought they were freaking creepy. They're creepy.
Yeah.
They are still creepy.
Yes.
I do hope, though, if we do go back to that other continent, how they gave reference to the fact that there are still Voster there that are like hiding. I do kind of hope we get a little bit more of them in particular from that continent. Like, I hope it's kind of like a full circle type of. I don't know. We'll see.
We've got a lot of circles to close, you guys.
I don't know how we're going to do this in the book.
We've got a lot of orbits to close, you could say.
I could say that.
I think we are orbiting
It would be
around
the correct
some
use of the word.
theories here. Well, after Odessa retrieved the orbit from Orson Canyon with Brother Score, he brought it to the Gold King. And there are 4 more orbits hidden, and they think they've narrowed down their locations. Their magic is shielded from the Voster and can only be tracked down by a Starling. So,
hello, Odessa.
Good thing we've got some.
Hello, FMC.
But this goes back to our Thrum conversation, right? Because if you say it can only be tracked down by a Starling, technically speaking, the cousins who never went through their rites are not called Starlings, right? So if this Thrum has happened, I feel like that kind of in and of itself proves that has to be Odessa's fate to go through her rites and become a Starling. Otherwise,
no, because she's already found one. She's already found one orb. So I think it's Starling as a race of people,
as a race,
not that they've gone through their ordeal.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we've already proven that
I guess that's true. She got the one without being that.
And they're all called Starling even before they go through their rite.
Yeah.
So obviously that's going to be our quest for book 3. Track down, destroy the remaining 4 orbits. 1, finally, are we going to go to the capital city? This is the capital city
that's going to be the last one
to go to.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be the last one. We're going to hunt down the other, because there's 4 left.
Yeah.
We know one's in Alisaria, so we're going to go get the other 3, and then we're going to end this shebang in Alisaria. For sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to your point, Lindsay, about the magicians and them being immortal, how do you kill an immortal? Well, we've also got the problem of how do you kill a immortal shoved into an orbit, because how do you destroy an orbit?
I don't know.
No clue.
Throw it into the sea. It goes
with Lissa?
swimming.
Mm-hmm. Something?
With Lissa. Ooh, I like that.
With Lissa?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
it's a stretch, but I feel like
we talked about book 1
together.
being magic and alchemy together. And so if you think about, I mean, I could see that kind of fitting with destroying a magical orb with alchemy. That would be very fitting to the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Okay, so which Foster do we trust?
Score.
And
Dime.
Hain. Hain is which one? I forget which one Hain was. The one that
Nold is the same as Score.
Correct.
Nold and Score are the same. Yes. Yeah, I trust them. I don't trust the high priest.
No.
He
bad.
He bad. Yeah. And trust is like I don't know if that's too big of a word, but I don't distrust them.
Do you think they mean...
And I don't think they're evil. I think they mean well to neutral.
Willing to give up their magic to save a continent?
Yeah. I think maybe. I think it depends on...
Day of the week?
The day of the week. I think it depends on how they feel about their connection to the high priest, and I think there could be more to that. I don't know. Maybe. I think they want to go back home, to be honest. I think that they would love to be able to live freely in their own country without having to hide. I could see that as a good way to end that. Bye.
Do we think with the high priest there's something more that he's doing to, because Ransom is so very loyal to him? Do we think there's something more sinister to what the high priest is specifically doing with Ransom rather than just siphoning the Lissa out of his blood?
I don't, only because, and I don't know, I'm forming thoughts as I'm saying them,
Sure.
so bear with me here. I don't think that there's something more sinister, because him siphoning it out of Ransom is a way for the high priest to keep the magic out. And so we know
That's
that
his
his
motivation.
intention right now is to keep the magic out.
Yeah.
So I think he's only trying to help him to put a stop. Yes, to put a stop to that. And unfortunately, Ransom trusts him in that. And technically, when it comes to the disease itself, he has every reason to be trusting him.
Yes.
He is pulling the magic out of his blood. But I just think that the high priest has more selfish reasons for doing that. And I think Ransom will probably pretty quickly learn that in the next book. Yeah.
Ugh.
All right. Well, then what are our predictions for book 3? Seven and the Swift is coming in March of 2027, which that 7, let me tell you, the second I saw that, I started spiraling. About what that 7 meant.
Can you spiral now?
Yeah, tell us.
Okay. So I did some searching about the number 7 in both books, in book 1 and book 2. Mostly in book 1, the number 7 is all over the place. Obviously in the chain of 7s, but there's also like 7 werewolves came into the camp.
Yep.
We know they killed the 7 merwheels. That was to enact the chain of 7, so that one doesn't really count. In book 2, there was a moment where I think Odessa sees people praying, or maybe it's Caspia. I forget who sees. There's like groups of women praying, and they're in 7 circles praying.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
So there's a lot of mentions of 7s, but like the thing that doesn't make sense to me is that there's 6 gods and 6 magicians and 6 orbs. So where does this last one, where does the number 7 come in? So
right, and then they sign the 8. So it's like, why is it 6, 7, and 8?
Yeah,
that's the only way the 8 exists.
Unless you are lumping Amma and Oda as one, and then it's like the 6 plus Amma and Oda. But the 7 doesn't really make a lot of sense so far. So I'm very curious where that comes in. I don't know.
So my prediction for book 3 is that we are going to get a Crux migration, and it is going to be unlike any other migration, because I think that people are going to start to learn about what the Crux actually are. And so I do think we're going to get to meet more Starling. I think there is going to be some more connections to Ken and the people from Nelfinix that are going to be in play. I do think this is going to be where we find the cure for Lyssa, and Ransom, I think, is going to be saved, but I think that there is going to be a big sacrifice, and I don't know what that sacrifice looks like. I think that Ransom as we know him is going to change, and I don't know what I mean by that. Like, I don't know if I think that he is going to shift. I don't think he's going to shift himself. Like, I don't think that any of that kind of crazy stuff's going to happen, but I see a big change coming for him as a character.
So it's interesting. I don't think that we're going to see a Crux migration.
Really? Okay.
I think that we now have people on the other continent that can potentially put an end to that. Because if you think about it, a Crux migration, again, we have one book. That would be a lot
of stuff happening in one book.
And a lot for, like, that takes up a lot of chapters. That takes up a lot of time in preparations and in actual migration. So I kind of think that the other continent is going to somehow stop it, or that they're going to get the orbs in time that it doesn't happen, because they have
going to stop the magic,
cured the magic, and people can come over without shifting.
But it's weird to me because we still don't know why the Swift come to Calandra. We don't know, like, what is driving
why
them.
They're called there.
Yes, why they're called there. And you can say maybe it's the magic of Calandra, but we still don't have an explanation, a better one other than that, because
I mean, animals migrate
100%. going psychotic and killing an entire race of people when your whole purpose of your migration is to lay your eggs.
Well, that's because of the magic. So their regular migration is pulling them over to migrate, and then it just so happens that the place that they're going is fucked.
But at the end of the day, the population is still replenishing itself. So they're still somehow laying their eggs in all of this. They're still... So I have to wonder if... because the magic is still there, I have to wonder if we're going to get that crux migration. But to your point, Lindsay, that's also going to be the method by which that continent also comes over, because we've had years go by. We have this queen on this continent who's lost a lot of family members going that way. And I know their sacred rule is you don't follow the migration, but they do know the migration is going to come. So I have to wonder if it's going to be them following the migration.
I bet Griselle is going to come. Griselle, because now she's older.
Yeah. So I have to wonder if her family is now going to come with that migration. I don't know if the other kingdoms, but that's kind of my big prediction, is that I think her family is going to follow that migration to Calandra and play a part in this somehow.
And hope that the magic has changed, that they're not forced to be evil creatures when they
Because
get here.
maybe they went through all of their changes not on that island, and that's kind of the difference for them, why it would not necessarily affect them. That maybe because they didn't go through their change on the island. I'm spiraling. I don't freaking know.
Well, no, I think the orbits have been destroyed and the magic has been cured. And so when they do make their migration over, yes.
But I also assume that might not have happened yet. That the orbits
when is it going to happen?
Could still be into play, like that they will form an important part of the plot of the orbits by coming over.
Yeah. I will also say I did have questions about the timeline about Caspia's, that migration that happened during Caspia's time, because the migrations, and I don't quote me on this, guys, because I don't remember now, but I remember thinking about it as I read it, is that in Caspia's timeline, they're concerned about an incoming crux migration. But if you look at Odessa's age, technically a crux migration would have happened right before Caspia and Andres were there.
Yeah, I remember being confused by that as well.
Like the there's some timing issues that don't quite add up to me, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember reading it thinking like, is there something weird there? Like, right. Yeah. Because they were concerned about the upcoming one, but Odessa's not 30.
But maybe I remember wondering the same thing, because we also got the contrast of it seemed like there had been time that had passed since the last one, because there had been like rebuilding, like Andres is taking her around and you can see there's rebuilding.
Yeah.
But there's also fortifications happening at the same time. So we make the assumption the fortifications happen closer to when the migration is going to start. And maybe that's just simply where we interpreted it wrong.
Maybe they're like, well, we got to get ready. It's going to take us 8 years to build up this village again or whatever.
I just remember the timing seeming odd to me, especially because I, again, knew or was assuming as I was reading that Caspia was Odessa's mother. And so as I was reading the parts where they're talking about it, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I will also say that if Ransom does die, it will take a lot for me to be okay.
Oh, 100%.
Sure.
100%.
Like, I'm not
that would be devastating.
Expecting that. And I also mean that from a perspective of being okay with it, being like, that doesn't ruin the whole series for me. Okay with it. Like, I can accept it, be broken up and crying about it, but be okay with it at the end of the day. So he better live.
You better live, Ransom.
You better live, Rance. Rance, one of my favorite characters with one of my least favorite names. I know that's a controversial statement.
Which is so funny because Lindsay and I really like that name. I like that name.
I hate it, and it's so funny because my mom read Shield of
She
Sparrows
doesn't
and Rites
say
of
it in the best
Starling. Loved
accent.
them both. And she goes, Ransom? His name is Ransom? They call him Rance? I'm like, yeah, Ma. I don't like it either.
I feel like
It's
that's
so funny.
making it worse for you.
I know.
too.
I don't have her accent.
When your mom says
screaming
Rance,
it.
Ransom? But also, like, yeah, it's not my favorite. I love him, but
It sounds
Don't like his
dangerous,
name.
and I like it.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that is a wrap on our episode of Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry.
Yeah,
Can't wait
in our
till book 3.
PJs.
Oh my gosh. The best part about this is, you guys, we record
Straight to
super
bed.
late at night because we all
I'm ready.
have big girl jobs and everything. And so all I have to go do is like pull out my makeup eraser, do a little washy, and then I'm done.
I'm
in
into
bed.
PJs. We straight to
I
bed.
love it.
Bra off, makeup off, done and done. One thing I will say before we end too, I am telling everybody right now, when book 3 comes out in March of 2027, I'm not waiting 3 weeks. I'm reading it that week. I'm reading it. Find me somewhere else. I will be reading that book. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Good.
It's on our shared calendar. Don't worry.
Perfect.
You won't miss it.
All right.
Be sure to like, follow, rate, and comment on our podcast wherever you are listening, and follow us on our social media channels at Banter and Bookmarks so we can find more unhinged fantasy readers just like you, just like us.
And we also have a Patreon channel. For only $5 a month, you can now be a book dragon. Our monthly subscription includes a monthly book club, which often features the book author, early access to special episodes, membership to our private Discord channel, merchandise discounts, and always free hugs at events. So come and join the fun today.
And have you heard that we'll be also wearing our jammies on our fantasy cruise that we're going on? That's right. We will be hosting a bookish cruise on Royal Caribbean in May of 2027. We have all sorts of bookish activities planned, trivia, an author interview with J.R. Cathers, the author of Child of Chevet, and tons and tons more stuff planned. So go check out our Instagram if you want more information about that.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for our PJ Jammy Book Club episode. Happy reading. Bye.
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 And good night.
Good night.